Snowflakes on my windshield this morning. Welcome to winter, everybody.
Did you see pictures of the UP?
I have seen pictures of the UP. I had friends who've been in the UP last weekend who said it was a big snow out there.
Crazy.
You're not allowed to say the S word. Come on.
Sunshine? I like that word.
No, yeah. No, that's not the one I'm thinking of.
Well, Shepherd Road there's nothing out in this area. We must be a little microclimate area. Didn't even see frost this morning.
Well, I wouldn't have thought it was little dots of snow, except I heard on TV 25 News that there was going to be little bits of snow. It just wouldn't make it all the way to the ground because of the atmospheric situation, but they expected to see little dots. And that maybe it didn't look like rain, didn't look like snow. It was just wet dots. So I it was snow.
Okay. Looks like it's looks like it's 9 o'clock and we are recording live. So we'll call the meeting of the Criminal Justice and County Affairs Committee to order. Our first line of business is call to the public. Nicole, do we have anybody out there?
There is no public at this time, Mr. Chairman.
All right, well, we'll have a second opportunity later in the meeting. Our first item of business is consider approving the fiscal year 2019 Homeland Security Grant Program intergovernmental agreement between West Michigan Regional Medical Consortium and Isabella County and authorize the board chair to sign the same. Mark, you're here. So this is a program we're very familiar with. In your explanation, I know you always bring us these things with these convoluted dates, but I look at this one, it says fiscal year 2019 now. We're almost at the end of 2020. But anyhow, maybe in your explanation, it's probably before I haven't noticed it.
Yes, sir. Well, we are getting closer. What is happening is the grants are actually starting to run multiple years. So with that being said, our fiduciary does their best to run a grant, close it out, open the next grant, close it out, not have multiple grants open. So we're almost to the newest, which is FY19 coming up for us in Homeland Security. We're going to be approximately $29,497 allocated to Isabella County towards its needs for Homeland Security services and equipment. And this is the same type of grant, the same grant basically every year, where we have to front the money to purchase stuff for the 29,000, and then we get reimbursed as that comes back. And it's with the same fiduciary that we had last year, Wimmermick. That seems to be going very good. They're very on top of processing funds to get us reimbursed and accommodating us through the procurement processes when necessary.
Okay, so the you've already spent the money in 2019, so we're all set to go.
This is we'll be spending 19's money for Homeland Security, not our county budget. So this will be this is what we're actually starting. It's that far behind in the grant federal processes as we go.
So you're allowed to spend it in 2021.
Yeah, we'll be able to spend this money through May 31st of 2022.
Okay, Frank, do you have?
Yeah, just one question. What do you think is the most, what's your on top of your wish list? What do you need to, you think is the most important to get caught up on?
We have a team of people called the local planning team, which is required by the grant, that get together to prioritize what we need. And this particular round, we have prioritized keeping the planner position, which is keeping all of our reporting and school plans up to date, working with the COVID parts of the plans right now, helping track all of the COVID protective equipment. We also are purchasing some stuff for the hazmat team, a specialized monitor that will help them identify problems in the environment. And then we're also looking at some law enforcement purchases as we go forward, some internet access type stuff. So the group is comprised of multiple disciplines within our community in Isabella County: police, fire, EMS, road commission. It's very similar to our EOC group that normally meets every month. And so as we review the overall project of what we need to accomplish, that's what they've prioritized, and then we try to execute on that.
Yeah, I see that it keeps going down every year, but this is, of course, 2019. Do you see it increasing because of the COVID, maybe catching up, or you don't see that ever happening?
At this point, I don't see it in our Homeland Security grant. I'm not exactly sure that our partners that we work with at the Health Department and the Regional Health Coalition, they may be seeing some increases of money that are there, or some shifting of monies, but that would be, COVID would mostly be in their lane for the PPE, and we try to do what we can to support them. Speaking specifically today, we are, as the emergency management, going out supporting the Health Department and planning for a large drive-through open to the public flu vaccination clinic. This will also help us prepare if and when the vaccine for COVID comes out, to be able to help the public get what they need from that aspect in the future.
Margaret, do you have anything to add?
I would just add, Mark, thanks for bringing up the flu clinic. That is in cooperation with the Saginaw Chippewa Indian Tribe, is my understanding, unless that's changed in the last few days. And they're going to be holding it in an enclosed area in the lower level of their parking garage. So weather won't be a problem for people to come through and drive through. And that will be, that information will be getting out to the public, and that's a collaboration. And thanks to Mark and his team for helping them get the logistics of that figured out and everything else they're going to need. So I know we've been planning that for a while now. So that's a great opportunity for our community.
Please come out and see it. You're going to see a lot of our Homeland Security previous purchases being used to support that effort, which would be a great thing. And a shout out to our partners with MDOT and the city of Mount Pleasant. They're also supporting and working with us on this flu clinic.
Any other questions or comments? I will move that we move the fiscal year 2019 Homeland Security Grant Program intergovernmental agreement to the work session.
I'll support that.
It's been moved and supported. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. It moves forward. Thank you, Mark. Our next item of business is consider approving the fiscal year 2021 adult drug court contract in the amount of $66,500 and authorize the board chairman to allow the court administrator to utilize DocuSign to sign the contract. I see that we have Carrie and Kate here. Would you like to take the floor?
Sure. Good morning. I wanted to clarify, I'm not sure if you received 2 staff reports for this particular grant, but if you did, the first one had a typo that said 73.5 and at the bottom under recommendations. And it should actually be 66,500. So it looks like I may have sent you the original one with the typo and the corrected one. So I'm not sure what Jessica did with that. Hopefully she saved me again, but if not, just so you know, it's actually 66,500. I'll let Kate talk a little bit about the grant process and what we asked for. And this has been an ongoing grant for many, many years though. And we appreciate the support we continue to get. The tribe has been very generous to help us along, particularly when the state is not as generous with the amounts they're giving us. I'm not exactly sure why that is, but my guess would be because we survived on a lesser amount for many years. And even though we're continuing to ask for more, they're not that interested in giving us more. But I'll let Kate tell you a little bit about what she's been doing in the last year.
Okay.
Drug court program began in 2003. It's an intensive treatment-based program for individuals that have had drug or alcohol-related charges. Program focuses on counseling, AA, just getting the treatment they need. Benefits from the program are that they get the treatment they need and hopefully address their addiction. They most likely at the end of the program, depending on what their plea was, their charge will be reduced from a felony to a misdemeanor, which is a huge benefit of this program. This year, brand new, we started a restricted license program through Secretary of State. So when an individual gets an OWI third, it's very hard to get a license back. And this program allows them to get their restricted license with an interlock blow machine in their vehicle. So far this year, we began that in August. We've had 3 individuals be able to get their restricted licenses through the program. So as far as the grant, we did ask for $119,000. That would cover my wages and benefits. It would cover, that would have covered drug testing and some counseling if people didn't have insurance. It would have covered, transportation, allowing us to go to the annual conference. We were offered $66,500, so that would cover my wages and benefits. We did receive a grant through the tribe this summer for $42,000, and we'll be using that money for incentives and counseling and transportation, the extra things that we provide for our individuals.
Okay. You had mentioned that you can get a restrictive license, and you said there was some kind of a modification to the vehicle?
Yes, there is an interlock. It's a blow device and it's hooked to the vehicle. And so in order for them to be able to start their vehicle up, they need to do a breathalyzer to show that they haven't been drinking. And then as they're driving throughout their drive, it will sometimes beep. And if it beeps, they will have to do a test as they're driving, just to show that they didn't, start up the vehicle and then start drinking as they're driving down the road.
Okay. Frank, do you have any comments or questions?
Nope, we've seen this for a couple of years now, so it's bad that the amount keeps going down, but it's what it is.
Yeah, I agree with that. It looks like basically all our grants are going down, but I look at these programs that help people with alcohol and drug abuse as being an investment. We can cut the addiction. We'll probably have lesser costs in future years in the courts and cost of society as a whole. So keep up the good work.
I'll move that we move this forward to the work session.
I will second that. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. It moves forward. Thank you, Kate.
Thank you.
We'll move on to our next item, which is consider approving the fiscal year 2021 juvenile drug court contract amount of $88,000 and authorize the board chairman to sign, to allow the court administrator to utilize DocuSign to sign the contract. Well, we have Carrie still here, and we also have Maria. So why don't you take the floor again?
Go ahead, Maria.
Yeah. Okay. Good morning. Thank you, gentlemen. So I think that we've been at this long enough, and I hope that you all are still familiar with the program and how it works. We are an incentivized program. We do try to balance the treatment with the sanctions. And so in years past, we've been very fortunate in the grant monies that we received. It helped us cover our incentives, some transportation costs, some screening and assessment tools, things of that nature. This year we did ask for, I believe it was $108,000, which we have done for the past few years. We were awarded $88,000, which is quite a cut. I think it's the biggest cut that we have faced in recent years. So the monies that we're using this year from the grant program will go towards salary and fringes. And we will be accessing the child care funds to help offset some treatment costs for families and our incentives and our transportation costs.
Okay, again, another very familiar program with us and money well spent. Frank, do you have any comments, questions?
Just checking through right now. No, I don't. So I think we're all set with that. The only thing I am concerned a little bit is the child care fund, because that one can kind of get out of control on us. So, but no, I don't have any more questions. So
It's true. We do have 50% probably the cost of whatever comes out of the child care fund. Margaret, do you have any comments or?
No, I don't. I agree that the investment is certainly worth it, particularly when you're looking at the juveniles and what we can do to help them. It's a difficult time always if they are in our system, but it's certainly a more difficult time now, given the COVID and all the changes to societies and families and everything else. I will say, as far as the child care fund, I think that, I know that Carrie has done a great job along with her partners at Department of Health and Human Services, that the child care fund is very well managed. And I'm comfortable with us accessing it, with the recommendation to access it. I think that Maria and Carrie are right on the spot to make sure that services to our kids and their families.
Okay, I know this is a team approach, and I used to carpool with somebody when I was working in Clinton County that was involved with the child care fund there. And he kind of made comments about the school system and support. Are you getting good support from the various public school systems in this program?
Yes, actually, we have excellent support. We have the associate principal from Mount Pleasant High School is part of our treatment team, and that's been invaluable in terms of helping us. School is such a major part of these minors' lives, and he's been a great support in helping us, looking at how we can look at school and implement that into the program of the juvenile drug court. And it's just been hard. These last several months have been hard on all of us. And back in March, when we went home for 2 weeks, we switched over to meeting with youth. We were able to continue to meet with youth every week as scheduled through phone. And then in May, we converted over to the Zoom system. And that was so much better because it allowed us to have face on with these youth, to see them in their environments. They weren't going to school at that time. And that was, that was very helpful. Once we got back into the building in June, we were able to resume drug testing through DNA. We are not drug testing on site. And of course, at that point in time, we had a lot of positive tests, as did so many drug courts and probation officers, not only across Michigan, but across the entire state. I was involved in a lot of online webinar trainings at that time, and that was a common theme. So school has often been a place of support for these youth. It is sometimes a place of safety, and they had none of that after March. And in many cases, they had very little monitoring and supervision at home. So it was a struggle. We re-geared our program a little bit. We allowed for these youth to get back on board. We were able to resume our court hearings, and so that helped with some accountability. It took a couple of weeks, but we saw most of them get back on track, starting to test negative, and they were able to check in and be held more accountable. So with schools opening this fall, a lot of our youth are involved in the hybrid program, or even part of the day treatment school. And that has been very helpful. But we have found the schools across Isabella County to be very supportive and very helpful.
Okay. Any other comments, questions? Frank, would you like to move this on?
I will make a motion to move this forward to the work session.
I'll support that. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. It moves forward.
Thank you. I just wanted to say, excuse me, I do have to scare off. I have another meeting going on right now that I need to join. So I want to say thank you very much.
And thank you for everything you do in the program for the youth.
Yeah. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Our next item is consider approving the fiscal year 2021 Swift Insure Sanctions probation contract in the amount of $200,000 and authorize the board chairman to allow the court administrator to utilize DocuSign to sign the contract. Carrie and Carolyn, you're here. I see that you've probably brought us the best news. We get the least amount of reduction in the original grant request, but go ahead. Take the floor and tell us about the program.
Well, we are an 18-month moderately intensive style probation that is sanctions-based, compliance-driven program. For our people, if they know up front that if they get a violation, that they will serve jail time. So we use drug testing, and ours is about accountability. So they know up front that they will be doing a jail sanction if they violate. So it's been, I don't know, a couple years now that we switched the length of our program. We're now 18 months, but if they complete in 12 months with no violations, then we look at discharging them from probation altogether, or at least from our program. We asked for $203,000 this year, and we're awarded $200,000. So we are pretty happy with our grant award. We currently have a $205,000 budget, and we are doing okay. Through COVID, I mean, we're not testing in the office currently, so we've spent a little bit more in testing because we're having them test at DNA. So we also, for the first time ever, applied for a $20,000 grant from the Tribes 2% this year. So not sure when we might hear something from that. I think it's probably still a few months out, but we're still doing okay in our program.
Okay, when you test on the outside, because you can't do it at the court facility, is that something that you get reimbursement for from some of the grants that COVID-19
Yes.
grants?
Drug testing is part of our Swift and Sure grant. So our grant covers the testing. We normally test in our office as well as the DNA testing facility, but because we're not testing in office, all of our testers are going to DNA.
Okay, I know it's covered under the Swift and Sure sanctions. I'm just wondering if any of the additional costs, because of having to go outside, might have another revenue stream from some of the COVID-19 safety grants. Do you know, Margaret?
Well, we've been using that firm for prior to COVID, correct, Carolyn? I mean, we've used this firm before, correct? So,
Yes.
you know, these programs have to test on all sorts of days that our facilities are not open. So it's not an unusual situation that we are using this company. We've used them for a number of years, I believe, haven't we, Carolyn?
Yes, since
Yes.
2011 at least.
Yes, and that was a discussion, I think maybe you and I had originally, or someone from the courts. I know that the courts were struggling with having people tested on Saturdays and holidays and those types of things. So we talked about different places in the community and outside of the community who could use those. So, you know, I haven't seen anything, Commissioner Jablonski, that can be a cost under COVID. If you are sending those people out, Carolyn, on testing that would regularly be done internally on an internal schedule, if that's what I understand, if that's the question that the commissioners asked.
It is.
If you're sending them out because of COVID, is that something that we are identifying as a COVID expense in our list in case we ever get money to cover those things? Is that the question, Commissioner?
That's correct.
Okay. Carolyn, are we having any differentiation in the number of tests we're sending out because of the COVID situation?
Yes, instead of testing, I mean, we kind of balanced it every month. We did so many tests in office, and then we sent some to DNA as well, just to keep it random and because of flexibility with people's work schedules and things. But again, we have always used them. It's just that it balances out. It's cheaper to have them test in-house sometimes as well.
Right. So you're not really increasing the number of tests you're sending out to them because of COVID?
Yes, we've increased. They're doing the same amount of testing, but more of it is being done, it's exclusively being done at DNA instead of in the courthouse as well.
We can, you know, I can talk with Carrie and maybe Carolyn offline after the meeting, and if that we can be attributing to a COVID expense and putting it on our COVID expense list in case that type of thing is ever funded, we can certainly do that. And that's an administrative thing that we can do internally between the courts and us. So Carrie and I can talk offline, and Carolyn, and see if that's a possibility. You know, the COVID expense list that we're keeping, we're hoping someday we'll get reimbursed for that. But at this point, the COVID, I hate to call it the COVID money, but the money that we're receiving at this point because of COVID is not covering some of those things. It's certainly covering PPEs and those types of things. So we'll see. We'll at least keep.
Appreciate that. You know, if there's
Absolutely.
a revenue stream there that can help cover the cost of some of the programs, so much the better. Frank, do you have any questions?
Yeah, just one. I know with the public defender and having representation at the arraignment, are you getting people in this quicker or the process, it's for repeat offenders usually, but are you getting people in the program at the first arraignment or not? Or is it something that usually takes a while to get an applicant in your program?
I missed some of what you first said, Frank, because of the phone cutting out. I
Oh,
think you were-
okay. We have such great internet out here. I know at first arraignment, do you get a lot of people at first arraignment that's like coming in the second time? Do they get put in the program automatic? I know it's a little bit of a change. We've talked about that
People-
previous years.
People are coming into the program at either a sentencing or a PSI. That's how we become aware of someone who qualifies for our program. And then we speak with them usually prior to sentencing if we can. But I mean, they don't have a choice of going into our program. If they meet the criteria, then they go in. And when they violate, then they come in front of the judge for their arraignment, and they have the opportunity of being with a public defender at that time, having representation. A lot of them, if they've already admitted to the violation, will just decline representation because they know they're getting 4 days up front if they've admitted to their violation. Was that your question?
That was my question. Yes, thank you.
Okay. Okay.
Any other questions, comments? I will move this, Frank, did you have one?
Nope.
You were gonna move it?
I was going to move, but go ahead, Jerry. I forgot my turn here. It must be your turn.
I'll move this forward to the work session.
I will support that.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. It moves forward. Thank you, Carolyn. Thank you, Carrie.
Thank you.
Our last item is approving the grant agreement between the Michigan State Police and Isabella County Trial Court in the amount of $29,808 for federal pass-through coronavirus emergency supplemental funding, and authorize the board chair to sign the same. Gary?
Okay, I'm back. I have a few technical difficulties. We lost internet over here, and so I was gone for a few moments. So I think you've already seen a couple of these for the prosecutor and the sheriff. Ours is coming a little bit later. It is, again, the coronavirus emergency supplemental funding. We applied for $30,000 of the $103,000 that's available to the court. We were awarded $29,808 of what we requested. A little over $25,000 of that is for PPE supplies and materials. And then the other $4,800 is a contractual expense to have the building disinfected, which we are using quickly, unfortunately, at this point. Some of the supplies include things like gloves, an iPad. We are using one outside really frequently right now for our court users who don't have access to the internet but still need to attend their court hearings. So they can use the iPad outside and participate in their Zoom hearing, which has worked fantastically. I'm really, really proud that we were able to do that, and the county supported us in doing that when we didn't know if we'd get reimbursement. So it's really, really been a great service to our court users. Originally, we wanted to only use that for arraignments, but it's really evolved into many other types of hearings. So it's been a great asset, and we're hoping to be able to get another one because we all know Zoom is going to continue to be the way of the world for hearings as much as it possibly can be. So disinfecting spray, wipes, postage and paper for renotices of hearings, thermometers, signage, barriers, plexiglass, cell phone stands, that kind of thing. The other thing we're looking at is some portable recording equipment for when we do jury selection, because we are not entirely sure we can do that on site safely and effectively. Even though we have, 4 courtrooms, we can only put so many people in there. And we also have some pretty high profile trials that will be potentially coming up in the next few months, which is going to mean we're going to have a lot of jurors to pick from. So that is another thing that we wanted to make sure we asked for. We can go back and ask for additional funding up to the 103,000 as we have needs available. And so we're just asking that for your support in this, and it's 100% reimbursable. So that is a fantastic thing as well.
On the additional funding later, that is written in where you can go back for a second or third time as you have additional expenses.
That is my understanding, yes, and I have confirmed that with the county accountant who is processing the other grants through the county, and she has confirmed that. So we have two opinions on that. So my understanding is we can go back and ask for additional monies, and it probably looks like we're going to have to do that, particularly for disinfecting and building, sanitation.
Okay, Frank, anything?
Nope, I don't have any questions. It's pretty straightforward.
Do you have any comments, Margaret?
Oh, no, I just want to thank Carrie and her staff. We've been, working cooperatively on that, and it's nice to see that, the sheriff and the prosecutor's grants, as Carrie said, were approved the last round. So this is the last one of these that we have. So I certainly support the court's request 110%.
All right, it's good to have the funding to manage this coronavirus. Frank, do you want to move this one?
I was just about ready to do that. I will move this forward to the work session tonight, or not tonight, next week.
I will second. You made the motion without moving the lips. That's pretty good. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Thumbs up.
It moves forward. You were frozen at the time, so
Yeah, it's
we can hear
fun.
your voice.
Okay.
We'll do another call to the public.
There is
Nicole?
no public at this time, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Margaret, do you have anything to add to the comments or to the agenda?
No, sir, I do not.
All right, then we'll call this meeting of the Criminal Justice and County Affairs Committee adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.